I've been adopting a new way of living. My whole life I've been a thinker, I've been an observer. That's why I make these videos because I'm a thinking type of person, which is good, being self aware is good. I'm not saying I'm changing my whole way of, thinking, right? But with that, there has been some cons where I think too much and it paralyzes me, paralysis by analysis. Where, I have an idea and I want to do it, but before I do it, I have to think about it. I have to break down every step that's going to happen that is needed out of me to fulfill what I want to do. I overthink everything. I have to plan everything. I need to know everything before I start it. My brain needs to know the exact outcome before I'm comfortable to start. And this is with anything. Literally anything in life. Anything that I wanted to do, whatever you want to do. Even if it's something like going on a hike. I'll get to that later. But for my 20 years of living, I think I've been thinking a little too much, you know? And I'm not saying that I regret it because I'm glad that I'm a productive thinker, that I'm self aware, that I'm able to be a little scientist in my own brain. That's still a part of me, right? But like I said in my past videos, there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance. At the end of the day, I am still a creature. I need to go live. I need to take action. And that's what I really haven't been doing. I think to the best of my capabilities is taking action. Because back then, in order for me to take action, I needed to know every step. I had to be comfortable with every step in the process. And something I realized is when you do that, stuff just won't get done. Stuff won't get done. Paralysis by analysis. I want to do said thing. I don't do it because I think too much. Eventually, I think my way out of it. And I think that kind of keeps me in my comfort zone almost. Because my comfort zone is me not doing anything. Staying in my room watching YouTube. That's my comfort zone. And back then, when I wanted to do something, I think me thinking was almost kind of my way to convince myself to not do what I wanted to do because it was uncomfortable. And my brain, and probably everyone's brain, doesn't like the uncomfortable. So now I'm learning to just do. Easier said than done. I'm in the process of learning to just do, where if I have an idea, I'm going to do it. That doesn't mean I'm compulsive. That doesn't mean, oh, I'm craving McDonald's, let me go order 2 Big Macs because I take action. I don't think no more. That's not what I'm saying. But it's kind of listening to like my heart, to my soul almost. To take action when it comes to living life, putting myself out there. If I have an idea that is authentic, that is me, I'm going to take action on that idea. And I think there's a fine line that I still haven't completely understood yet, that I'm still navigating, where, okay, I'm going to take action, right? I'm going to think less, right? But then there's also a side of that where, like I said with the McDonald's, you can be compulsive and you can start falling into your kind of desires that our body wants, which is something that I am trying to navigate. It's basically just having better discernment when it comes to what's going to feed me life. Like the actions I take, is it going to give me life or is it going to drain my energy? You know what I'm saying? So that's still something that I'm getting familiar with, and I'm navigating that line. But now it's like I have an idea. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to stop thinking. The little actions, the big actions. Like I've been on one hike. I've always wanted to go on a hike. because my first hike I really liked it. But it was always like, oh, someone, like, who can I go with? When's the weather going to be nice? When is, when am I going to be ready? When am I going to be comfortable enough to go on a hike on my own? What day am I going to have the most motivation on? When does it fit into my work schedule? And that is that thinking, that is that needing to know every step of the process that's going to hold you back. That's going to keep action out of your life. That's going to keep you away from life. We need to be the observer, of course. That's what my channel is about. But we also have to be the experiencer. There has to be a balance. And I'm talking to myself when I say it's like, you need to stop thinking so much. You need to know when to think. Thinking has to be almost a choice. It can't be something that we are consistently being ran on. Thinking. We cannot be consistently ran off of our thoughts. I've said this quote in another video where our mind is a tool that we need to learn when to put it away. When it comes to obviously, handling our emotions, understanding where these thoughts come from, understanding loops that we are maybe stuck in, then that's the time to think, to be introspective, to really dig deep, to really reverse engineer, right? But when it comes to just living life and taking action, starting that YouTube channel, talking to that girl, going on a hike, we just have to do, like, we just need to stop thinking to the best of our abilities. There's this lyric, it's easier to imagine. Wait, hold on. I know it's easy to imagine, but it's easier to just do. Kid Cudi lyric. And it really didn't hit me until recently, where it's like it is very easy to imagine. It's very easy to think. Thinking is comfortable. It's easy to think about every step that has to be done in order for me to go on my hike, to do whatever, this and that, whatever it may be that you want to start. It's easy to think about that, right? But it's easier, like in the lyric, it's easier to just do. Because when we just do, we experience life. We just live life. Thinking keeps us trapped. Our mind can be the best and worst thing in our life, And I think when you think too much, when you overthink, this is what anxiety is, it's overthinking. You're just slowly losing out on life, being the observer all the time. And that's how I kind of felt like, I just need to go out and do stuff. I'm not saying I'm gonna go out and party. That's not what I want to do, and that's what I'm talking about. Listening to that authentic voice, your spirit, your soul. Listening to that and taking action based off of that. So I'm not saying force yourself into a party. I'm not gonna do that. When it comes to a party, I'm not gonna take action. I'm not gonna go to the party. I'm not gonna go to the function. That's just not my thing. But yeah, when it comes to going on a hike or maybe trying out different content, I'm just gonna do. I have the thought. If that thought sounds good in the moment, I'm gonna write it down. Or better yet, I'm just gonna do it. I'm not gonna think. So, I'm still young. I'm still adopting new ways of living. Maybe 2 years from now, everything I'm saying now, I might not agree. I mean, I don't think so. Because, who knows? Literally, who knows? All that matters is, and in these past videos, I'm speaking from a place of truth, from authenticity. What I'm saying I believe in, and I'm trying to practice to the best of my abilities. That doesn't mean I'm perfect, but I'm trying. And I do believe in what I'm saying. So, I don't even know where I started. I don't even know where I'm trying to get at. But it's about listening to that authentic voice in your head, and taking action. You know, getting life out of your life, experiencing life out of your life. That's something I'm trying to do. Oh, I was bringing it up because of new ways of living. You know, I'm constantly adding to my mental repertoire, you could say. Ways of living, beliefs, all that. I'm adding on to it. You know, and this is something that, sure, even 2 months ago, I probably wasn't thinking about. I wasn't really practicing. But now, I'm practicing by just taking action. Stop thinking so much and just take action. You will feel better. And one last thing before I go. When it comes to taking action, right? Like when you're about to take action, when I was about to leave for my hike, I had this voice like, don't go. Don't go. You know, like just go back to bed. That's more comfortable. And in that moment when you're about to take action, this voice goes off. It is desperately needing to be heard. And that is the voice of comfort. Maybe the voice of mediocrity, the voice that is keeping you in this same reality. That is that voice that feels bothered, that feels change, and that voice does not want to feel change. So it is going to run and throw thoughts at you to keep you from taking action. And right now, I don't know if I can do anything to stop that voice. I don't have anything I do. Actually, I do. I don't really have any like thinking practices to stop that voice, to stop the source. But what I do is I become aware of it, I identify it, and I just become aware that, like, yo, this voice is trying to keep me back. This voice popping up is actually probably a good thing for me. Because if I just stayed at home watching YouTube, this voice would not be going off because it is doing what is comfortable. This voice only comes out when it senses that change is coming. And this comfort, this voice does not like change. It wants to keep you stuck in the same spot. So when you hear this voice, it might be a good thing. You know? It might be a good thing. So that's what I gotta say. Live life. Stop thinking so much. Learn when to think and when not to think. But if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, comment, share, do all that. Thank you for listening.